Welcome back, class 10. Continuing with your history, chapter 7, National Movement, Civil Disobedience Movement. The Dandi March. On 2nd March 1930, Gandhi wrote a long letter to the Viceroy communicating his decision to start a civil disobedience movement. He already wrote a letter to the Viceroy. On 12th March, began Mahatma Gandhi's historic march from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, a village in Gujarat sea coast. 78 persons followed him, but as Gandhi advanced, others joined the party. He reached Dandi on 5th April. So he started 12th March. He reached there on 5th April. On 6th April morning, Gandhi violated the salt laws by picking up some salt left by the sea waves. Gandhi's campaign against the salt laws was a signal to disobey the government laws. Now, what was the program of the movement? Civil disobedience campaign involved number 1, defiance of salt laws, number 2, boycott of liquor, number 3, boycott of foreign cloth and British goods of all kinds. Civil disobedience movement was different from non-cooperation movement. How was it different? In the way that it also involved non-payment of taxes and land revenue and violation of laws of different kinds. So, in civil disobedience movement, it involved non-payment of taxes, it involved non-payment of land revenues, it involved violation of laws, which was not there in a non-cooperation movement. The progress or course of the movement. So what was the progress or course of the movement? Gandhiji's march from village to village, covering almost 200 miles, attracted serious attention of the people. Gandhi had selected mainly the salt laws as his target, knowing fully well that the salt tax affected all sections of the society, especially the poor. So he was aware that if salt law was implemented, all sections of the society will be affected, especially the poor people. Illegal manufacture of salt and violation of other laws took place in a grand scale. In UP, Gujarat and Bengal, the farmers refused to pay the land revenue. In Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, people began to cut down timber in defiance of salt laws or forest laws. In northwest frontier, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, popularly known as the Frontier Gandhi, organized a volunteer brigade known as the Khudai Khidmatgar or the Servants of the God. They were also called the Red Shirts. They started a fierce anti-government movement from various ways, including non-payment of taxes. Thousands of women picketed, that means sat in front of the shops selling foreign cloth and liquor. Gandhi was arrested on 4th May 1930. Jawaharlal Nehru, Madan Mohan Malviya, Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan and other prominent leaders were also been arrested. Repressive measures. What are repressive measures? Repressive measures are strong measures, torturous measures by the government, Britishers, to curb or to quell the effort. The government used all kinds of repressive measures to break the nationalist movement. According to official figures, more than 60,000 people were put behind the bars. 60,000 people were arrested. The satyagrahis were brutally assaulted. They got lathi blows on head, chest, stomach, joints. Miss M. Slade, an English lady, told that she saw the wounded person being thrown into salt water. Just see how torturous the Britishers were. Now comes the first Roundtable Conference. The first Roundtable Conference was held in London from 16 November 1930 to 19 January 1931. The Congress boycotted the conference. Other parties were represented by several eminent leaders like Sapru, Jinnah and Aga Khan. The British government was unwilling to give the Dominion status. Moreover, a conference without the Congress looked an empty show. It was therefore decided to call a second Roundtable Conference. Now, what is important is the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. As a first step to bring out an understanding between the Congress and the government, Gandhi and the members of the Congress Working Committee were released on 26 January 1931. They were released from jail. Gandhi wanted peace, but with honor. The government also wanted peace without trouble. Under such circumstances, the famous Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed on 5th March 1931. The Governor General agreed, number 1, to release all political prisoners except guilty of violence. Number 2, to give back to the congressmen their confiscated property. Confiscated property means property taken away illegally. To permit peaceful picketing of liquors and foreign cloth shop. To permit such people as live near the seashores to manufacture salt. Mahatma Gandhi agreed to suspend the civil disobedience movement. So he agreed that if the Britishers are allowing such things, we will also suspend the civil disobedience movement. He also agreed to take part in the deliberations of Second Roundtable Conference. The Viceroy having to negotiate with Gandhi as an equal was seen as a major achievement to the Congress. So what happened was, Gandhiji negotiating with Viceroy, or rather Viceroy negotiating with Gandhi as an equal, was a great achievement for the Congress. The British government was forced to recognize the Congress as a true representative of Indian people. So this is this. Now, what was the impact or significance of civil disobedience movement? Apparently, the repressive measures of Lord Wellington had succeeded, but the suspension of the movement did not mean that the people had given up their struggle for freedom. That does not mean that people are sitting and relaxing at home and not thinking about freedom. Well, of course, there was terrible struggle for freedom. What was the impact of the movement? First, people were not silent and subdued. The movement caused a tide of patriotic fervor in the country. People became more zealous. They became more out of the house they came out, and they were more. The patriotism was there in their blood, and they were not afraid of the government. Second, the government was convinced that bold constitutional reforms were now essential. So the Government of India Act 1935 introduced a federal and principle of provincial autonomy, responsible government in the provinces. So government convinced that something bold constitutional reforms should be bold, strong, not by prayers, petition. These things are now taking a back seat. Third, the struggle had a healthy effect upon the life of the exploited, the poor and the oppressed. See, anti-untouchability campaign produced the desired effect. The depressed class were now given entry to schools, temples, wells where they can drink water, which had been denied to them until now. So the oppressed class, the depressed class, now they came in the forefront. Fourth, the movement brought women in large numbers out of their home. They prevented people from buying foreign cloth and liquor. In Nagaland, Rani Gediliu led an anti-colonial movement. Boycott of foreign cloth and British goods also had a very good effect on country's economy. Now, fifth, violence as a political weapon ceased to have much impact on youth of India because Gandhi's preaching of non-violence. Now, see, we often think that non-violence is for cowards. You should understand, see, if you are non-violent, if someone is torturing you, but if you keep silent, it needs a lot of power. It needs a lot of courage from the heart, from the mind. It is not a very easy thing to do. However, revolutionary movement did not die out completely. Now, with this, we come to the end of the national movement. But now the formation of socialist communist parties are there. Communist Party of India was formed. Congress Socialist Party was formed. It is not very important from your examination point of view. There is Kakori conspiracy case. Meanwhile, Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad were also they also died. So these things happened. So with this we come to a very, very, very important chapter, the national movement of 1919 to 1934. So next we will revise next class, chapter 8, the Cripps mission and the Quit India movement. So that is all for today. Thank you very much.